Hi, my name is Brittany Lausen, and I'm the president for your Students Association. And I just wanted to thank all the students for tuning in today because I know you guys have a lot of questions. I also have a lot of questions, so I'm really excited for us to get some answers. And I know Dr. Nunoda here is going to also ask us some questions about what we have planned for the fall. So,
thanks, Brittany. I'm Peter Nunoda. I'm the president here at Red Deer College, and I'd like to welcome all of the students joining us here today. It's fantastic. I'd like to have a face-to-face opportunity to meet with you just as we would with convocation, but unfortunately it can't be done at this time. So thanks for joining me, Brittany. It's an unusual time as we plan for fall at RDC and as we all adapt to the COVID-19 pandemic. Our plans are well underway to ensure our students have a successful year ahead, allowing them to progress successfully in their studies and being able to access the services and learning resources that they absolutely need. We'd like you to submit questions today if you have them, and we'll share as much information as we can. The email for questions is questions@rdc.ab.ca. We won't be able to get to everyone's questions today, but use the same email after today, and we'll share your questions with the appropriate departments who can respond directly to you. So we're going to just do a little bit of back and forth, question and answer, and what we're calling a campfire conversation. So Brittany, fire away.
Okay, so the first question we have for you today, Peter, is what preparations are instructors doing now to help ensure courses are uniquely and appropriately designed for online learning?
Well, let me start by saying that I'm awfully proud at our faculty's ability to pivot in March when we had this outbreak to make sure that students completed the winter semester successfully. But what we're aware of is that when we made the commitment to largely online delivery, we had to do things a little bit differently and a lot better in terms of engaging students in that online education experience. And it's not an easy task, but our faculty are participating in workshops. They have access to a wide range of resources and experts in our Center for Teaching and Learning who assist them with all aspects of planning their online courses, including the unique challenges of teaching online, creating engaging student experiences in the online environment, and supporting technology usage and planning for instructors to use in teaching and for students to use as they learn in this new kind of format. We've also offered a range of simplified online teaching resources. And I think the beauty of college courses generally is that each instructor will put their own brand on how the course looks. I think that's still important, and it's something that can be done in the online environment. So to say that they can have their own signature in the way that they deliver material to the students is certainly true. And what we know is that the quality of education that we offer in the online environment will be equal to the quality that we offer in the face-to-face classroom. And what we're committed to do is to make sure that you as students have all of the resources and supports that you need to not only survive, but thrive in this new learning environment.
Cool. I am actually taking an online spring course, and the instructor asked me if I had any, asked the whole class if we had any suggestions. So it's really cool to see instructors, genuinely wanting to grow and develop, because this is new territory for everyone, really.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so our next question, Dr. Nunoda, some students may be unfamiliar with or nervous taking their courses online. I know that's very common that we've been hearing. Even our execs, it's that transition is different. What resources does RDC have to help students who are a bit uneasy about going to classes or completing their courses online?
Well, although we've really made a shift to largely online delivery for the fall semester this year, RDC has a long history of offering programming online. And I'm sure that there are significant numbers of students that have already studied in this kind of a format. One of the things that I ask my son, because he's in second year university right now, is, why are students finding this a challenging thing to do? And he said, well, Dad, really, we've been in a face-to-face environment for our entire educational lives. So this adjustment can't be underestimated, but we have an academic support team in place to assist students in areas like online tutoring in various subjects and creating effective study and exam writing habits. And I think that's perhaps the hardest thing with online, is that you have to have even more discipline than you did in a face-to-face environment. Give yourself time management, work out your calendars, do your work at the same time in kind of the same setting, and it just becomes routine. We also have personal counselors who can talk with students who have either personal or academic issues, and we have various resources on the counseling website to share advice about coping with anxiety that's caused by this isolated environment, mental health issues, and relationships. And what we know is that without balance between work and life, people can't be successful. So we're really trying to drill down on that and provide the resources that are necessary.
I have definitely made that mistake of waiting to the last minute to do all my online coursework.
Who hasn't?
Wouldn't recommend.
Yeah.
I'm working on it. I'm getting better.
For sure.
But okay, so our next question for you, Dr. Nunoda. While most courses will be delivered online for the fall semester at RDC, a limited number of labs, shops, practicums, and studios will be permitted for in-person interactions on campus. Why were these chosen for in-person delivery?
So we used a number of principles in determining whether or not we would do limited numbers in-person learning opportunities. And really the principles were these. Ensure that all RDC students can achieve all of the learning outcomes and the competencies to progress with their studies. Ensure that full-time students can complete their programs and graduate in the timeline established when they began their programs. So we don't want this online solution to unnecessarily delay people graduating from programs. Offer in-person learning opportunities to small groups when required to meet those timelines. And we know that there are a number of our applied programs where labs or clinicals or shops have to be run for students to acquire the competencies they need. And what we will absolutely do is let the students who are affected by that in-person learning in those programs know about that as soon as possible. And departments will be communicating that out. The other thing we have to be mindful of is that at the end of the day, we answer to the Chief Medical Officer of Alberta. And all of the standards that we need to employ, whether that is physical isolation, Brittany, or it's a masking protocol, come directly to us from the government of Alberta. So all of those factors came into play in determining whether or not certain students would get face-to-face learning opportunities in the fall semester.
Thank you. So for student services, along the lines of student services, what will access for services and RDC's facilities look like in the fall for students?
Yeah, that's a great question, and you know we're obviously very, very concerned about the ability to deliver services for the most part in this environment virtually, as we've successfully done since April. So the recruiting and advising team can meet with students online. Appointments can be booked on RDC's website for e-advising, ensuring that they are planning programs properly, that they're getting the right sequence of courses. Counseling services are available through video chat or by phone, as well as the number of online resources that we have for students. The library will continue with online help for students around research and technology questions, or just general access to information. We will continue to loan laptops to students who require them, because what we know is that to do online learning effectively, you have to have equipment that will handle the kind of bandwidth that's required. So that's foremost in our minds here. For the fall semester, the library will have curbside pickup for books, and for now, there will be no in-person traffic to the library. But that could change depending, again, on the guidelines given to us by the Chief Medical Officer. Facilities. Residents will be open for students to come and live. To make RDC a comfortable home away from home for students in residence. And we also support limited students and instructors on campus in the fall. We are examining food services because we realize if we have students living in residence, we're going to have to provide some food services and other amenities. But we're still, again, in the process, and I can tell you that we have a relaunch working group trialing and examining a lot of this information so we can give the best possible environment. The opening of the Gary W. Harris Canada Winter Games Center will depend on the guidelines given to us by the Chief Medical Officer of Health.
Oh. Thanks. Now, paying for school. I know that's on pretty much every student's mind. Yeah, it's been, I know, a very tricky time for students. I know the emergency fund has been very busy at the college. Our student food bank has seen a lot of students. So, will RDC change any tuition or other fees next year because of the shift to online course delivery for fall?
Well, a couple of general comments before we start. I would encourage every one of our students who's having trouble finding employment in this environment to be applying to the federal government's emergency student grant program. We know and we understand that tuition is the major expense for students, but it's also an investment in your future and your life success. So because we maintain that the quality of education would be the same as students would have received in person, and by making the decision to move our courses for the most part online as early as we did, this allows the instructors to prepare courses to be specifically delivered effectively online. So we won't be reducing tuitions per se. Due to some limitations with accessing facilities and extracurricular activities, we're suspending the activity and wellness fees for the fall. So we're just not going to collect them because we don't think we can offer all of those amenities in the way that we should. Most importantly, I want to emphasize the fact that RDC does have resources to help students pay for their education. We have more than $1 million in scholarships and awards thanks to our donors. Students are also encouraged to apply for provincial scholarships like the Jason Lang Scholarship and the Jimmy Condon Athletic Scholarship. Emergency bursaries are available on a limited basis if a student requires additional financial support, and student loans through governments or personal banks continue to help students fund their education. And the last thing that I should mention is there is an installment program for payment of tuition. So the tuitions can be divided, and I'll rely on Trish Knighton, our registrar here, to sort of answer that question. You won't see Trish, but you'll hear her.
Thanks, Peter. It's probably a good thing you don't see me. I haven't had a haircut in 2 months. So we do have a tuition installment plan. You can contact our cashier's office and make arrangements to pay your tuition in installments. So make sure you take advantage of that if you need to.
Now, I know one of the myths or assumptions with tuition is that, well, if it's online, it doesn't cost as much. But I'm understanding that's not actually the case. It in some cases it can be more expensive to offer a course of, properly online.
Yeah, we've had to invest some in technology resources for faculty to teach effectively, and we recognize that faculty, just like students, have to have the equipment, the right equipment to deliver effectively in that online environment. So we're cognizant of that, and our hope is, and I'm very confident about this, is that instructors are taking time to engage with students in different kinds of settings. So while you might have a live streamed lecture, there is an opportunity to hold virtual office hours or to have seminars in kind of an interactive fashion The other thing that can happen is that you can have chat rooms set up, so you can have those conversations outside of the class. You can have daily response opportunities that are asynchronous, so they're not dependent on time.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of creative ways that we can do this, but here's what I'm really optimistic about. Some of those online tools that we're developing will still continue to support students even when we get back to a face-to-face environment. So they have an even richer educational experience. So it's a great question, and that's really the reason why we've decided not to reduce tuitions, but to provide as much support to students who need that support as possible.
Yeah, and you mentioned asynchronous, and something I'm really excited for after talking to Dr. Maureen Taves, the Dean for Center Teaching and Learning, is about the variety of like course delivery that is going to happen in the fall. You know, so it's going to be something for everyone, whether you're able to and need that interaction to attend class at the time that class is scheduled for, or if you're someone like me and is, you know, doing classwork at like 11 p.m., you know, you'll have your recorded lectures to be able to access that. So that's something I'm really excited about, that there will be that flexibility. So hopefully, you know, everyone will be able to find something that works for them.
And, you know, I mean, the simple fact is that different people learn in different ways. And there are some students that don't thrive in a face-to-face environment either, so this may well be to their advantage. So we're really trying to balance all of that, but what we recognize first and foremost is that we have to have the supports in place for students to help them succeed in the environment. So is there anything else from you, Brittany, for me?
No, I think it's my turn for the,
I think
the
so.
hot seat.
So actually what I'm going to do, Brittany, is just ask you to share some of the ways that the Students Association supports the students who are your members. And I know that you've got a whole range of initiatives. Love you to talk about that.
How much
because,
time do we have?
you know, I mean, 2-3 hours is fine. But I'm not sure that all of the audience would be aware of those kinds of resources that the SA has. So
yeah, actually,
take it away.
One of our biggest struggles at the Students Association is really being able to not demonstrate, but educate all of the students at Red Deer College on the cool things that we're doing. So that thank you for the opportunity. I will gladly take it to talk about the Students Association. Some of the things that your Students Association does for you, probably the biggest thing that we do is advocacy surrounding the institution. Where, Peter maybe sees me too much that he would...
Nah, never too much.
Never too much, okay. No. Thank you, I'll take that. I'm gonna remember that. But talking to the institution on your behalf on things like tuition, concerns with parking. Recently, very exciting, the Donald School of Business. That was something business students have wanted for a very, very long time. And your Students Association has talked to the institution about that. Something that happened this past year, first time, ever at Red Deer College, was we had a fall reading break. And that was something your Students Association advocated to the institution on your behalf for. So that is by far the biggest benefit of being a part of the Students Association, is being able to advocate. And now, that's the institution side. We also advocate to the city. So Red Deer, we advocate for things, about potentially permits. Actually, something very cool that you might not know about the Students Association is we actually own our own building. We're one of the select few students associations in the country that own our own building. So we talk to the city about, paying our taxes, bus passes. We have a discounted transit pass for students. I mean, right now, it might not be, no one's leaving their house, so you might not be using your transit pass. But when things all return, we have a discounted transit pass with the city. And then provincially is another big part. So post-secondary education falls under the provincial government, and we are always advocating to the provincial government to keep post-secondary affordable. One of our biggest pushes right now, actually, which just aligns so fittingly with online learning, is open educational resources. So that's been a big ask. And now I know some students watching are like, what's that? I've never heard of it before. Same. Before I joined the SA, same. And open educational resources are online, doesn't have to be online, you can print them off, but it's basically open resources that you can use for classes. So instead of buying a textbook, you would just be able to have access to this online material, which would save students thousands. I know how often is it that, a student buys a textbook and doesn't open it, doesn't even crack the spine, and they spent $200. I am very guilty of that. I will admit that there are some textbooks that are in plastic wrap at my house collecting dust. After I graduate, I'm not gonna add up all the costs because it'd be a mistake. But actually, a fun fact, maybe not so fun, but textbooks costs have risen 2.6 times faster than inflation since 1977. So with us advocating to the provincial government, we absolutely are going to make, post-secondary more affordable for students. So that's the biggest thing your essay does for you. Other things we do, we offer a student food bank, and I kind of alluded to that earlier, that's a resource that our students have access to. And actually, unfortunately, it was quite busy during COVID because I know there was a lot of students who were struggling, and there is absolutely no shame, no issue in asking for help, because that's what it's there for, is to take advantage of, and everyone needs help from time to time. So I think it's so important that your Students Association offers that. Other things, consignment textbooks, all sorts of fun activities, engaging students. Yeah, there's a whole host of things that we do, and I should probably, I wasn't joking when I said how much time do we have. So, that is kind of what your Students Association does for you. Yeah.
So I'll give you my copy of Lipsey, Sparks and Steiner, my economics 020 textbook that I used and didn't use, actually. But I hear you.
Yeah.
And it's a big thing in BC, actually.
Oh, yes.
Brittany, as you know, the open resources. And we're trying to encourage instructors to adopt those in as many places as possible, obviously.
Actually, our provincial lobby organization that your Students Association belongs to, Alberta Students Executive Council, we advocate for more than 110,000 students provincially, and we're working actually quite closely with BC because they have such a strong model for that, and I know that's where you're from. So
Absolutely, yeah. So what kind of activities or events can students expect from the SA this fall?
Oh boy, okay, so this is something that we are learning because it's all new to us, this online, and as much as we would rather it be face-to-face, we are working on some things. And actually, I have your Vice President, Community and Wellness Executive, Nathan, here, who's going to come and share some very exciting things that we have planned.
Excellent. Thank you, Brittany. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Brittany. So everything will be online. That is the challenge we face. So starting with orientation in the fall, we're working very hard to make sure we deliver content that is relevant to students, that is useful to students, and to make sure it's engaging. We want to make sure our students have a sense of community and belonging at RDC. So in the fall, we're going to be working on different online engagement activities, such as like a trivia night, a bingo night. We're going to be upping our social media game. So we're really going to be trying to get students involved and active in the community. And that is our main focus, is we want to make sure everybody feels involved and feels like they have a place to go to talk to other students and peers.
Sending any swag out in the mail to them?
Yes, we are, in fact. Yes, we're working on our swag bags, so students can look forward to having those sent and receiving them in the mail, so yes.
Excellent. Excellent. Sounds great. Be looking forward to watching how that goes for you.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Well, now the Face the Nation part comes. We should have some questions coming from Laurel, from students. So, you want to start, Laurel, please?
You bet. Just to let everybody know, we are about 85 people online, so that's
Excellent.
nice.
Super.
So there's a question that just came in for Britt. As a first-year student, is there a way to form a student group for a program, in this case, a biochemistry group?
Absolutely. We are always looking to expand our student groups. We have about 20 regularly active student groups. So yes, please, actually, reach out to Nathan here. We are working on a way and kind of creating a platform for student groups to still be able to interact with each other, because we know that is definitely going to be a barrier for the fall when you're not able to meet together face to face. So your Students Association is definitely looking into ways to kind of help facilitate that, so that it's not so overwhelming for student groups and that you guys are still able to reach your own membership. But yes, so his email is savpcw@rdc.ab.ca. It's also on the Students Association website or Facebook page, so check it out there. Send him an email and we will definitely help you out with that.
Okay, thank you. Another question, what happens for practicum students this year?
I take it that one's for me. So for practicum students this year, as I've already mentioned, we are in the process and very close actually to concluding the planning for small group practicum experience. Now, it will depend on the program. So I don't know if you're referring to education or health or potentially trades, I suppose, in some ways. But that information will come to you directly from the departments as they do their planning. But what I encourage you to do is take a look at this year's timetable, because all of those limited face-to-face sessions have actually been scheduled in the fall. So you'll be able to see for your program if that applies to you.
Okay, this is a question that came earlier today from Cindy. I wanted to be sure that the fall term is going to be online because of the first announcement that the decision was made. I made some decisions personally to study online, and I just wanted to make sure that the college is firm on the online decision.
That's a great question, Cindy, and part of my answer to the previous question applies here. It really depends on the program that you're enrolled in. But if you find out that contrary to your plans, some of your classes are going to have partial face-to-face, reach out to us and we can provide the support to help you coordinate whatever that is. If you're living outside of Red Deer and you need to make residence arrangements, we can certainly help you with that. And we don't want any student feeling like, well, I made this decision based on online and now I got to change my decision and I'm panicking. We don't want that to happen for you. So reach out to us either through Brittany in the SA or directly to the questions email that we gave you, and we'll make sure it gets to the right people in the institution so they can reach out to you and give you the kind of personal attention that you require.
Thank you. I know you addressed this in the first part of the session, but just in case the student missed it, there's a question, will the college be opened at all for us to use the library this fall and winter?
So the plan at this point is not to open the library for any kind of in-person traffic. And again, I'll emphasize the fact that the situation could change depending on what the Chief Medical Officer of Alberta tells us. But for the moment, we're not planning to have the library open. Now, if it's a question of high-speed access for internet or something like that, we will try to make arrangements for it, because I know that some of our students living in rural areas are going to have huge challenges as far as broadband goes to take part in a virtual environment. Well, what I can tell you is that we have a number of regional centers through Campus Alberta Central, including Panoka, Stettler, Rocky Mountain House,
Drumheller.
and Drumheller, where you can go into town and access high-speed internet at those locations. And, you know, again, if there are students that are in other areas where we don't have those campuses, we're happy to work with you to try to find some kind of technology solution to that problem, because we don't want you to say, I'm not coming to school this fall because I can't access the kind of technology that I need to.
Okay, and one last question from Carly. Carly is really trying to make a decision of whether to, I think she would really like to stay at home and study online. However, she's wondering about residence and if residence will be open, if there's that option for her.
Yes, absolutely, Carly. Residence is open. And again, it really depends on the program that you're enrolled in, whether or not there might be limited face-to-face. So I suggest you check with us so that you get the proper information. And ultimately, we'd love to have you on campus if that's your choice. But most of all, we want to make sure you make the commitment to come to class in fall of this year so that you don't lose any time in completing your program. So, either way, we'll absolutely support your decision and put in place the resources that you need to succeed.
Okay, that is the last of our questions. There were some very specific questions, and I just want everyone to know that we'll make sure we get those answers to you because they're very specific. Peter did answer some of the general questions about practicum already.
Sure.
So that comes to the end of the questions.
I guess if I could just add one last thing for any students that are watching who maybe want to get involved, but they've never really felt they had the time because they were working or face-to-face, it was just too much. Well, now is the perfect opportunity to reach out to your Students Association and get involved because it's all online. So from the comfort of your own bed, you can be getting involved with your Students Association. So now is the time. But yeah, reach out. Like I said, our Facebook page, you can find a link through the Red Deer College's Facebook page to us, our website, my email's saprez with a Z, because we're cool, at rdc.av.ca. And yeah, reach out whenever, anytime.
Or your spell check wasn't working.
No, we're cool. That's the cool way to spell Prez, don't you know? You're gonna have to change your email now, Peter.
Yeah. So, as we come to the end of this town hall, Britt, what are you looking forward to most for this coming year?
Oh man, I think, as much as this has been just a very difficult situation, I really, in the past, since March, I have really seen the Students Association grow a lot. Because we've had to, right? We've just really had to challenge ourselves. So I'm looking forward to that, to seeing how we can grow and evolve as an organization to reach our members better. Obviously I'm very excited for the day when we have students walking the halls here again. It's quite lonely in the halls. I'd love Starbucks to reopen. We might need a few more students for that to happen, but I really miss Starbucks. But yeah, so I think the challenge is, what I'm looking forward to because it means that we're going to grow as an organization and better serve our members because of it.
Yeah, that's great. And I got to tell you guys, I miss you too because there's nothing more troubling than walking empty hallways. So
the halls echo.
We want you back as soon as we can do that safely for you.
Yeah.
So thanks again to the students that participated today. I want to encourage you to continue to be in touch with us by phone or email if you have questions. This includes contacting the SA with questions, or if you require supports. Obviously, Brittany and her new executive are all on board to help everybody out. You can continue to submit your questions through questions@rdc.ab.ca. And we'll share your questions with the appropriate departments, as Laurel's already mentioned here. I want to remind you all about registration for the fall semester. And the timetable is out there at rdc.ab.ca/timetable. Continuing students can register starting on June 9th, and new students can register starting on June 23rd. We'd take them before June 23rd, though, wouldn't we, Trish, if they really wanted to? No? Okay. I shouldn't do that to the registrar, actually. Look, I'm looking forward to having as many of you join us as possible this fall, and we will get to meet face-to-face in the near future. I'm confident of that. Thanks, Brittany, today for all of the great information and being a guest here. And hope I answered your questions.
Yes, thanks for meeting with students, Dr.
No,
Nunoda.
no worries, no worries. My pleasure, absolutely.